Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you so much for tuning into one of our talks today. I'm so thrilled today to be joined by Kheng Hua Tan to talk all about the series Kung Fu on the CW. And I wanted to start by asking about when you jump into a series like this and you're first coming into the show, how are you looking at all of the details in the script and the details that the creative team are giving you to really understand what the voice of the show like this is going to be so that you then in turn know how you want to develop your character to bring her into this world?
I think, thank you, first of all, and it's a real honor to be here. So nice to be here, and very nice to meet you, Mara.
You as well.
Um, Love that question. I would say that my approach to a brand new character and a brand new project differs from project to project. And I am a big believer of crafting something uh, within the community that is the production. And with a brand new production like this, um, I always remind myself not to be in a bubble, um, to allow my creative process to evolve and develop as I get to know the people that I'm working with on all levels, um, slowly. Because, you get the script and you read it and you get very excited. And then the first thing you do is you start to work within your own bubble, your own imagination, the things that excite you, how your brain goes, how your heart goes, what are the words, what are the immediate characteristics that jump out and get you, hit you, and pull you in. And then, I'm a stickler for homework. I'm just one of those sort of people. I mean, even for this interview, I have a notebook in front of me. Okay, I'm just like that. Okay, A type, you know, OCD type woman. And so I start writing things down, and then we discover the process. We first get to meet our creator, and then we chat. And in this case, it's the wonderful Christina Kim, who is eloquent and decisive, and she has a very strong vision, and I love that sort of energy. And yet she's very open. So then you have a whole bunch of new energy that comes into you, and then you merge that in with your own energy. And then this goes on as you meet, the director, as you meet the wardrobe people, hair and makeup people, and then as you meet your co-actors. And as we all know, we are nothing without the people that we're acting with, how they see you, how you react to them, what are the specific chemistries. And so layer by layer, layer by layer, you change and you add and evolve. And I find this extremely, extremely enjoyable. I love the mystery of um, how one starts, how an actor starts, how I start, moving into, the discovery of new things that are brought about by the energies of all these new people that I meet and that are in the production together, and this village that we're going to be a part of.
Yeah. And you were mentioning that evolution of character. And even when we look at your character on screen, the first time that we meet her, her daughter's just returned home for the first time in a few years. And her first instinct is to just say nothing and walk out of the room. But then the more that we learn about her, the more that we understand that a lot of these responses at the beginning come from a place of immense love, but also fear, trying
Mhm.
to have protectiveness, uncertainty of what does this mean? Is she really back? Is she staying? And just, self-preservation and trying to process a lot of things. And so how does a character written, with that layer of complexity in the show for you really create a unique challenge, because there's so many juxtapositions within her and there's so much subtext between her actions and where it actually comes from inside her?
Um, One of the first things that jumped out and hit me about Mei Li, um, is that she is an extremely passionate person, and a person that feels emotions in very extreme forms. I really love that about her. And the first thing I did to help to, I guess, lay the foundation of where I can house all of these extreme emotions that were already written into Mei Li, and exemplified by exactly the scene that you just described. She is the sort of mother that would say very strong words like, "My daughter died 3 years ago." That is a very telling line, and it is one of those lines that I start to build all the different layers of emotions that I now know this particular character can go. So I would say that hint about the length and breadth of her heart is a great playground to start to build Mei Li. And I knew that when you start a character so strongly in such protective armor, right? Armor always comes from somewhere really, really soft, you know. And so I knew that I had to find in my heart the poles of being extremely protective of her emotions and also feeling really, really, really vulnerable. It's almost as if, you know, she has that length and breadth to play with. Another decision that I made right from the very beginning was to also not be afraid to play how protective she is. Because I knew then if I started off with very high stakes like that then I would have a lot of space to move and change and to peel open, you know, all the different layers. I knew that if I started her from a watered down fierceness, kind of fierce, not really, it would be very difficult for me to find, you know, all the other nuances I knew the episodes would start to open. So those were some of the initial decisions that I made. And a lot of it came from the script. You know, if it's not on the page, you have nothing to work with, which is why I really take my hat off to, you know, Christina and Bob Behrens, you know, the showrunners, and all the writers, and how they must have really thought about where they wanted to pitch their characters, how different the characters were to each other. And then because we're a family and we will constantly be in each other's faces, that we would have a lot of room to keep reacting to what, you know, the people around us are going through. And certainly that has happened. And it really is the way to, you know, for an actor to play with all sorts of different layers, you know, of a character.
And from that as well, we get to see the actions that she takes and the things that she does for the people around her. And, you know, one of the most prominent ways in which we see that is the episode in which her husband is in hospital because she's taken out a loan to try and save the restaurant and didn't even tell anyone. And that's a really large action to try and protect her family. But there's also so many small ways in which throughout the show, you can feel that she's just constantly going around trying to do things quietly, doesn't even need to tell people that she's doing them, to take care of everybody around her, whether it's the way that she runs the restaurant or something that she does for one of her kids. And so how did you want to look at the larger actions that we get to see and then think about the small moments and the small things that she does for those that she loves?
I must say that particular characteristic is quite Kheng, you know, to kind of like stealthily in my A-type fashion, just want to do everything, and to think ahead, and to, I'm kind of really like that. I like to prepare. I like to be in control. I like to solve problems. I like to solve the problems of my entire family. And I must say, I read that off the script, and I aligned myself with that unabashedly, because it is something so familiar to me. But what is important, I think, was I needed to root that particular characteristic somewhere. And I do think that Mei Li, is at her core, which I spent a lot of time thinking and building. What is the core of this woman? At her core, she really just wants to keep her family safe. Her language of love is just all about doing everything that she can, everything that is in her power to give this family what she thinks is best for them. That's kind of like a little bit of where she falters, because what she thinks is best for them isn't always what is really good for them. But then that's also the fun part. And I knew that was coming. This characteristic I see in a lot of mothers, in a lot of women, my own mother included, until today at 84 years old. And here I am back in Singapore. First thing, and I'm 58. And even then, just like Mei Li, my mother's first texts to me are, all right, what do you need? Do you need a microwave to be brought to your hotel so that you can heat up food, so that the food that you eat is not cold? I mean, my mom has been thinking about me coming, at least a month before I even set foot back in Singapore, and I actually appreciate this of mothers, especially when it comes from a core of love, so certainly I think that Mei Li does that, and then to quietly do this is partly to do with control and not wanting anybody to stop her. I think she's very like that, she doesn't want anybody to slow her down. I think all of these are characteristics that I built into Mei Li, looking at a lot of the cues that came from the pilot episode. She makes decisions. She makes decisions for everybody that she loves the most. She makes these decisions thinking that they are the best things for everybody, and she makes them quietly and stealthily because she doesn't want anybody to get in the way. And she wants she wants what she wants, and she wants it efficiently and effectively, and and quickly. So I love thinking about characteristics that are not necessarily 100% lovable or likable, and not being characters that are immediately, one way. I know that some of her redemption will come about later on in the episodes, and I, yeah. So I just wanted to play, all these different aspects of her without any shame at all, and just rooting it in somewhere real, and yeah.
With the fact that, as you just said, she's a character that isn't just one way, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about elements of your performance really coming from meeting your castmates and how are they portraying their characters. It's also really beautiful to watch the different relationships and rapports that she has within her family. Out of her 3 children, they all bring out very different sides and characteristic traits. When I think about me and my brother, we both have different styles of relationships with our parents, and that's very natural to everybody. And you see that within the family that you've constructed in the show. And then, with her husband, there's more of an opportunity to see, the romanticism when he surprises her with a date and how she responds to that very differently. And so what are the ways in which you're constantly thinking about the different sides of who she is for different people in her life?
Here's where I can get very irritatingly academic, because I take the script, right? And with a red pen. And this is a technique that I learned from the theater. I literally circle out what other people say about me, what my eldest daughter says about me, what my son says about me, what my husband says about me, what the lead, Nicky, says about me. And then all of these are added clues as to how they help me to play myself. And everybody's relationships are very, very different. So right from the pilot episode, you can see, Shannon, who plays Althea so brilliantly, right? Immediately says, mom's regime, right? And she gives in to mom's regimes wholeheartedly, and that tells me something about my relationship with my eldest daughter. She doesn't fight with me. She listens to me. She does what I say. And you can ask your own mother. I mean, out of 3 children, the ones who just, don't challenge you and just do what you say are the ones that are easy, right? The easy children, the agreeable children, the ones that are not willful, and Shannon and I will build on that. And certainly even up to episode 6, which is available now for streaming on the CW, and I urge everybody to go and watch, 1 to 6, you will see that with me and my eldest daughter, it is the complete opposite of me and my other daughter. You never see Althea and Mei Li in any sort of disagreement, yeah. And then, from learning about how other characters see your character, the other thing I like to do is to start to use my imagination to craft what I call the concentric circles of vulnerability. Who is she? Okay, here are the people that she loves. So certainly this is the big circle of vulnerability and all the players in it, which ultimately is her family. But even within the family, who is she most vulnerable to? And then from concentric circles, going out, I start to craft, okay, the second person she's most vulnerable to, the third person she's most vulnerable to. And then I have certain secrets that I keep for myself, because I don't know if many mothers will admit to this, but if you have more than one child, I am of the belief that in your quietest, most secret moments, you have favorites. You have one. You love all of them, but you love all of them differently. And maybe I can't say this because I only have one child, but I believe if I had more than one child, I would have secret feelings that are different for each of my children. And then I craft that, which I'm not going to talk about because my 3 Kung Fu children will never know what I really think about the characters that they play. And then with my husband, and I will say this because Ty does know this, I am most vulnerable to him. And this is something that it's a decision that I made very early on. And I see this with the fiercest women, the women who are really feared by their children and, in their communities, they are seen as, just sort of like, oh, the very strong women. A lot of times you see that they are most vulnerable to their romantic loves, and I decided that about Jin, the character that Tama plays so beautifully, because she needs to have the one person who is there all the time, who just knows a direct and straight way into her heart. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. And I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about working with Taima in the show, because from the way that you've described the way that you shoot scenes together, it sounds almost like you don't even need to talk about what it is that you're doing, because there's such a level of intrinsic trust and also a safeness in the space to try things and to try different directions with each other and just bounce off of each other's performances. And so I just wanted to ask about working with him in that way and how that really elevates a lot of the scene work that the two of you do together, because of the places you can then take your characters with each other.
I would say that Ty and I are quite old school in terms of our approach to the acting. And so, as I've mentioned earlier, I kind of like to write notes, and I'll type, whole Bibles of backstory, all sorts of stuff. But I'm also very aware that all actors have different approaches and different processes. And and he is the great timer, and I didn't want to infringe my own OCD process on him. But luckily, very, very early on, he picked up the phone and he was like, lo po, which is Cantonese for wife. And he coined that. And until today, he just calls me that. So he says, lo po, okay, let's meet, because, we need to come up with the same backstory. We need to sit down and we need to chit chat about, us, our history. And I was so relieved, when he said that, because then I knew that I didn't have to be self-conscious about this whole Bible that I had written about Mei Li as a child, what her mother, no, I swear, what Mei Li's mother said when Mei Li was born, etc., what type of a little girl she was or whatever. And he took away all my self-consciousness, about all of that. He allowed me to just be open and just to share freely with the way that I like to work. And it's been a wonderful, I would say, adventure working on this marriage and this relationship with him, because despite the fact that we don't need to discuss every single beat of a scene that we're about to do, we also enter into that scene, or I enter into that scene, I won't speak for him, knowing that he has gone through whatever he needs to go through, because of, how he connected with me right from the very beginning. So having established that he allows me to just, to just work the way I do, I now enter into every single scene with him, knowing that he's just going to be there no matter what sort of choices I have decided to make. And then to keep all the emotions fresh, we just go in there with absolute trust and openness. And I think that, you know, when you're working on a television series and there are many different episodes and you're going to be together for a very long time, and it has the potential of going for many, many years of your life, having a scene partner that is a major player and you know, in your character's development, and finding this sort of fellow actor to work with, you know, I just think is like good luck from I don't know where, because it keeps the joy of acting in me alive. It's fun, you see. It's not tired. It's not lazy, you know, and it's just discovery every single time, and enjoyment. And enjoyment doesn't mean happiness and laughing and smiling. No, Ty and I enjoy tragedy and sadness and anger, you know, as much as we enjoy humor and teasing each other, you know, as characters. Yeah. So what good luck, right? I mean, yeah. So I remember one of the most challenging scenes, you know, and I, no spoilers, it's coming up, you know. The minute we walked into the green room, I could feel his energy, you know, and that particular day was slightly different for us. We walked into the green room, and usually I'd be giving him food and I'd be bossing him around, or I would be like, you know, whatever, you know, and we'll be chatting about some, you know, something. But that particular day, we just walked into the green room and we said very little to each other, you know. And then we did the scene. And I believe we were very happy about the scene. And then at the end of the scene, he came up to me and he just gave me this huge bear hug, you know, because he's got like this big bear hug. And I just sobbed in his arms, you know, and that's the sort of actor that he is. Because he knows, you know, he knows what is happening, not just as characters, but as actors, and then now as friends and as people, you know. Yeah. Wow. Great, right? Isn't it wonderful?
It is, and I absolutely love the level of detail that goes into it. And I think that expresses exactly why all of the characters that you bring to screen have such beautiful complexities to them. And I just want to thank you so much, Kheng.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you. It's been an honor.